The following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
That's about Elvis. Everybody's got an Elvis story.
Well, I'd love to hear yours. Now, if about halfway through, I'm going to take a pause, and we're going to say pause. We'll both hang up, and I'll call you back again.
Sounds good. Okay. Do you want the reading to occur in the first or the second one?
Do I want what?
Which do you want me to read in the first part or the second part of the show?
I'd like you to read in the second part of the show.
You got it.
Sounds okay. Good. So here we go. Counting to three now silently, and then we'll start.
All right.
We are back. No. Let me try again.
Okay. Okay.
We are back, closing it out with Mark Littell. Mark, welcome back to the airwaves. How are you, sir?
Just fine, Ralph. It's great to be on with Ralph, and we never know what's going to happen today because we've got so many things going in our favor here.
And, so many things to talk about, show fodder, in and out of baseball. Generally, we do talk baseball. There's almost enough to talk about in baseball that it precludes anything else. But we're in a point in our history that sometimes you got to stand back and say, baseball may not be what we need to talk about today. So I thought we'd split the show into two different parts. I thought I'd get in the first part, I thought I'd get your reaction to what's going on outside of baseball in the world we live in. And in the second part of the show, we'll take a break, and then in the second part of the show, I would be delighted, honored, pleased if you would read me some of the stuff that made me think when I first read your stuff, this is not the Mark Littell, it's Mark Twain. You've got a Mark Twain way about you, and it's just a pleasure to hear, to read, and I know it'll be a pleasure to hear the words in your voice. So we'll get to that, but first I'm just going to leave it open to what part of our world situation is affecting you the most, what are you the most disappointed at. But I don't want it to be a negative show. I want you to tell me the reasons why you're optimistic about the future, because there's so much, the sky is falling, this, that, and the other thing going on. I prefer to think happy thoughts. I haven't been able to do that much lately, so I'm counting on you, an optimistic pragmatist. You're not going to get overly excited. I don't ask you to do that. But you'll put it into perspective in a positive mode. And so take it away. Talk to me, Mark.
Well, the thrust of this whole country and the world situation is in it's a balance and tip stage, you might say. It's a seesaw. And we see one thing go up, we see one thing go down. I mean, I'm not trying to play the middle of the fence here, but I think it's really interesting that you said we want this to be positive, because it's hard to stay positive with what goes on, maybe in this country and other countries. But I mean, I think we do have breakthroughs to where uh, things are leading in a positive way. I'd like to think, they talk about the economy here. I see good things in the economy, and I see other sides that don't work. And the other factor is, if you look at the people, we have, the judge thing that's coming up, and we got the Democrat, we got the Republican, and it's kind of like it's a good bad situation. There's no middle ground, and you wish that everybody could pull the middle ground. I think Kavanaugh's probably a great guy. I really do. I think he's probably the right guy. But you got all these things coming up with what was said about the gal that I guess he had some kind of a sexual thing going. So that's going to come out next week. And then you've got certain Republicans taking a different route, certain Democrats actually taking a different route as well on the whole thing.
Hey, Mark, I don't ask for a right or wrong thing here, but why do you say Kavanaugh's the right person? Why do you say, not anything you've heard?
Well, he's grounded, for one thing. And, I've heard I was watching some of the things on what was going on with him, from both sides. And, it seemed like, you have some Democrats who are basically a little bit in his seat as well. And then you had some Republicans that gave him some tough questions. Of course, he always, had that as well. But, he's grounded. He's been steady for a long time. I don't think he has too much against him, actually. And he's made some solid decisions in the past, from what I gather.
Okay.
You have to jump into it, full force. You want to be a senator, you got to get the senator seat to get the right to read all the things that go with it. But, until the thing came up about this gal,
well, it wasn't just the gal. Before the gal came up, and I'm quoting using your expression, the gal. There was a certain amount of inconsistency in his testimony, especially regarding when he was working in the Trump campaign, what he did with some emails that were directed his way, that were illegally gotten, and there were some answers that were blatantly false, blatantly lies. And
well, I don't know that, Ralph. That's the thing that I don't like about the politic part with the baseball is because I'm a baseball guy. We're taught two things in baseball: don't talk politics and don't talk religion.
Okay.
Even though we do have, Sunday we have our baseball chapel. But we talk it once in a while, and
right.
Because what's going to happen is you're going to get into a full-fledged war in the clubhouse, and that's just not going to happen.
Right.
And,
I remember the Giants in the 70s had what they called the God Squad going. I don't know if you.
Right.
They're.
So did Atlanta.
Oh, really? Okay.
Well, Atlanta had all the Mormons actually.
Well,
they had 9 Mormons on that team.
Murphy was one, and I think he was.
We had a bunch. Yeah.
Now, tell me how that's good for a clubhouse, and how that could be bad for a clubhouse.
Well, the religion part is not so bad, but you got the coaches part, and then you got that's a really interesting question you got there, because you have some faiths that say, "Oh, it's God will that I went 0 for 4 today." Well, holy shit, really? Right. I don't think so. Well, that's the way some people think.
Well,
and so they misconstrue the Torah, the Bible, whatever they want, the book of whatever. But then you get all these things, and now they start talking about, well, it's God will that I took the golden sombrero into the game tonight with 4 strikeouts.
Right.
So and that's what I'm talking about a little bit right there, because then you have clicks, because you don't want the click. And it's kind of like you have team captains. Like the Yankees, I think. You got to tell me this one. Do they still have team captains with the Yankees?
I think Jeter was the last
one.
captain with the Yankees, and I don't know of many teams that have team captains at this point.
Well, that's a good point because I remember when I was around Whitey, and he didn't have a team captain. Whitey was the damn captain. And that's just the way it was. And then Ozzie wanted to allude to that, and he put the kibosh on that really, really quick. I remember. And
this was after your time with naturally, but Ozzie got moved out by La Russa.
Right.
And do you remember the circumstances? And I remember there was some cries of racial overtones. He was
might have been there.
He was replaced by Royce Clayton, another black gentleman. So I didn't understand the racial overtones with that one. I know there are several others in La Russa's career that come to mind. But can you...
I remember Royce when he... Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Can you bring me up to date? I remember Royce in that league, in the Cal League too. Is that what you're going to say?
Yeah. I remember Royce in Midwest League. I was coaching, and we ended up playing a 26-inning ball game in the Midwest League. It's the longest one in the Midwest League anyway.
Whoa.
And it had to be done in two different ballparks because of the time factor. Because they had anything after 1 o'clock. We had to stop it, and we were going there to their park, which was Clinton, which was one of the oldest ballparks in the Midwest League. If not, I'm sure it was the oldest.
I still have a Clinton Giants T-shirt in my drawer somewhere. A big orange thing that, yes, good days. We're talking about, I'd say 1987, 88.
Yeah. I mean, that's about right. 88, I was there. That's right. You're right, Ralph. And then the one thing was with Clayton was, he stood out. And so you had the two worst teams playing in a 26-inning ball game at the end of the season.
Right.
I mean, we had one more trip to Clinton, to play. But Royce Clayton was a great ball player, and, he was younger than Ozzie. That's the other factor. You got the age factor more than anything. I mean, you can't discriminate on age in baseball, but you did have a younger player that was up and coming, and, Royce did make a little bit of a name for himself, not like Ozzie, but Ozzie, he had some years on him on those wheels.
No question. I'm not saying it was a bad decision, but I'm wondering, I just can't recall how the race thing came into it with La Russa on that one. But that's
kind of hard to believe because, you really don't ever go with race things at all in baseball. I mean, you don't ever really hear about it too much because that's really kibosh because, I was, it didn't matter. The same thing with religious guy. When I got a story in here about a Jewish guy that I roomed with. That was just a great story in baseball. It's a great story. It's in my third book. And his name was Dave Maines. But nobody wanted to room with him. I said, well, hell, I'll room with him because, I didn't give a shit because my doctor I was brought up. I wasn't brought up that way. So anyway, and long story short, you just didn't go to the, but we had a situation in the minor leagues, which that's where it's going to happen. If you see a big one, to me,
right.
And I've seen that in the coaching lines, and you gotta nip it in the butt really quick.
Okay.
And,
okay. Were there some folks in any of the organizations that you worked with, folks in power that enabled that kind of thinking to go on?
I think there was coaches that would on the sly maybe would push that a little bit. They'd say something on the sly, and you just try to stay in the middle. You don't go south. You don't go north. You just sit there and you, okay, and then you try not to associate because that's not going to happen with the course of baseball. I mean, you start dragging race into that. That's almost a taboo subject. You try not to, because if you get people that, you know, have cliques, because I'll tell you something, I used to go out with a lot of the black guys because they didn't give it, they liked me. And, you know, even though I was basically kind of from the South a little bit, I didn't give a shit. I liked to eat ribs, and they'd say, "Hey, country, you're going to go with us tonight." I said, "Dr. Pack," and I said, "No, you're fine." So we might be going over into Oakland to eat ribs somewhere. And I said, "Where are we going?" "Some alley." I said, "Okay, well, that's good. That's fine with me." You know, Mayberry, McRae, and Tom Hall, and everything. It was good.
There was a pretty good rivalry. You mentioned Oakland, and the A's and the Royals had a pretty damn good rivalry going. Anything?
Oh gosh.
Anything from that rivalry that comes to mind for you immediately?
Well, I'll tell you something. When we finally dislodged Oakland, when they got rid of all their named players, you know, and I think Vita Blue was still there, and they had Mike Torres.
Catfish was gone, and Rudy was gone. They broke up the heart of it.
Yeah, tennis was still there, you know, but here's the deal. You know, in '76, you know, it's not going to be any pushover with Oakland, and it wasn't. You know, it went down to the last week and a half, 10 days, somewhere in there, you know, before we kind of knew, okay, we're kind of in the driver's seat here, you know. So, and we went into Oakland, and something that, you know, you talk, Ralph, about the bombs on the planes nowadays and all the searches and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Hell, I couldn't believe it. We had just, you know, got into Oakland, and I think we won 2 out of 3, I want to say. Well, we were leaving there. We were just flying out there because we had to make that game up. And Charlie O. Finley had come from our ballpark and ridden on our plane. At that time, Ewing Coughlin, he asked Ewing, he said, "Hey, you care if I ride with you?" Well, hell, they were going to play cards. They played gin rummy. And the thing about it is that damn plane was getting ready 30 minutes out, I was up front watching over Charlie Finley's shoulder, and I was watching them play this card game because I just got through playing cards. And they were playing gin rummy, and Ewing turned to him and he said, "Hey, Charlie, plane's going to land here in a little bit. Hey, you want to go double nothing? You know, just, you know." And I guess Charlie was down, and so he said, "Sure, that's fine." So they played the hand out, and he said, "Do you take a check?" And he said, "Sure." So he wrote him a check for $9,000. I made $15,500.
Whoa!
So, yeah, really.
Yeah, for the whole year's work.
Yeah.
is
Yeah,
what you're saying.
a 3-hour flight. Yeah, a 3-hour flight, 2.5-hour flight. You know, right there. Going on cards with those two.
And Charlie wrote it. Charlie ended up writing a check
for $9,000.
Wow. And
then the other factor is, here's the good part. Once we got through with Oakland and we're going back to Kansas City to finish the next 6 games out, we're up in the air, and all of a sudden the pilot comes on, and we're about 45 minutes into it or something. He said, "Hey guys, I'm going to set the plane down in Salt Lake. We're going to check something out real quick. No big deal." And we didn't, you know, it was a charter. So anyway, they get down on the tarmac, and you know, and you say, "I want you guys." Some of you guys will go out the front, and I want some of you guys to go out the back. You know, so whatever. Okay. So we did. We emptied it out. And so anyway, when we got in there to the building, you know, we're sitting there, and they came in and they said, "Hey, there was a call in, you know, that there was a bomb on board. You know, somebody wanted to bomb the Kansas City Royals since we were going to dislodge Oakland." That's a good one. That's the first one I've ever heard of. So anyway, so we sat there for at least an hour and a half, and they go through all the damn luggage, and they got the sniff dog out. They had a sniff dog then.
Right.
So the sniff dog came out and said, and one of the guys, you know, with the police said, "Hey, you guys got any gunpowder or, you know, any pistols on you or anything like that?" "Yeah, whatever. Well, you know, and Doug Bird spoke up. He says, "Yeah, I got some shotgun shells in my bag." He says, "Well, which one is it?" He said, he pointed, he said, "That one right there." He said, "Well, we'll find out if this dog's any good or not." The dog's going back through and all everything. Sure enough, the dog sits down right in front of that bag.
Wow.
Said, yeah, they opened it up. There's Doug's shotgun shells.
But they didn't find the bomb.
They didn't find a bomb, so we got back on the plane, played the next day, played, 3-game set with somebody and came on another 3-game set with the Twins.
Were you a good flyer, Mark?
Oh, I was great. Because I tell you what, I used to set up in the cockpit every once in a while in the jump seat, and I just, piss them off a little bit every once in a while. I say, hey, what if I touch this button right here, what's that do? What if I flip that switch? Don't flip that switch. I said, oh, okay. So I started talking to them and everything. So I get run out of there eventually. ADD ran them out.
All right.
And so, I marched back to the back and, I'm all over the map back there and bugging the shit out of people probably.
Now, did you play with anybody that you remember offhand that was a particularly bad flyer, afraid to fly?
Oh my gosh, yes. Ken Reeds. He's part engine. Okay. So Ricky gets out there and, we call him Chief Wahoo, whatever, he gets a little, truth serum in him, which he had to travel with, he'd get some in him so he wouldn't have to fly, he would, oh gosh, I'm flying. Well, we had a fight break out one night and the window was broken, cracked, and he was like screaming. He thought he was going to go through, right through the frickin' window, he went, ah! There was 4 guys fighting. No, there was 8 guys fighting, sorry.
Wow.
So, everybody trying to
charter.
Yeah, it's going from Pittsburgh to Chicago. And the pilot finally got on there because the planes were all but at 30,000 feet, a little bit. And the pilot said, I don't know what the hell you guys are doing on there, but son of a bitch, I'm going to set this son of a bitch down in Cleveland. As far as I'm concerned, you can bus it from there. He said, get your asses in the seat. That's where all the masks had dropped. So, because the interior window cracked, and Richie thought he was going to get sucked out. I thought it's funny as well.
Oh, wow. Good story. Hey, let's take a break. We will pause for the cause, and when we come back, we're going to get some readings from Mark Littell. You are listening to the Comfortably Zoned Radio Network. I'm Ralph Tyko,
Hey, Ralph.
Hey, we're back. Mark Littell's with us, Comfortably Zoned Radio Network. Closing it out with Littell, Major League closer in 2 different leagues, 2 different really good teams, Kansas City, St. Louis, played for Whitey Herzog. Mark, who was your pitching coach?
In Kansas City, Galen Cisco. And then
Ohio State quarterback.
That's right.
All right.
Right. Yeah, and he actually broke Reggie Jackson's ribs in a fight one night. That's why he wasn't playing in the World Series one year. And then that's right at the end of the season, by the way.
Really?
And then, oh yeah, yeah.
Well, Galen Cisco was a former New York Met when I was a kid, and he was pretty good pitcher in a time in the Mets' lives when they didn't have many good pitchers. He was very solid, and like I say, quarterback for Ohio State. That's not a bad athlete.
I had Claude Osteen in St. Louis, and then I also had Hub Kittle.
Oh, Kittle is an iconic minor league coach, longtime organization coach with the Cardinals. What was he like? Anything about him that stands out in your mind?
Hub wore, the Roy Orbison, Buddy Holly glasses, the black ones.
Right.
And
Hub, you wore. Oh, I thought you said Hub wore them.
Yeah, Hub wore those Roy Orbison, Buddy Holly glasses that had the black rims.
I thought they were Mark Littell glasses.
No. That's the guy with Cleveland that throws, what's it, Wild Thing. Of course, I could get like Wild Thing.
Okay.
But anyway, Hub was great because he had a way with words, and he knew timing was everything. And he was a pool shooter, and he'd been around. He had a little stub cigar in his mouth all the time, and looked like a little turd and coming out of him. Yeah, God damn it, shit. Well, we'll beat them cocksuckers today. This is the way we're going to do it. I thought, that's good. I like that.
Well,
that's good.
That's a good podcasting word. You might as well. Can't dance. But
well, it's what he threw it in there, so that's what we want the fans to have the real thrill here.
It'll happen occasionally, and you don't know where the thrills are going to come from next. So please don't hang up. Please don't. You can continue to give us thrills, Mark. Hey, my friend, I got to get some of your readings. I got to hear the Mark Twain come out of Mark Littell. So take it away, my friend.
Well, what I've got here is everybody in the South, around Memphis anyway, has got a Graceland story of Elvis Presley in Graceland. So what I did was I was listening to a girl one night that I knew, and she's 75 right now. She's gorgeous, but she's got the sweetest little voice of Southern voice, and she was telling me, because she grew up in the Boot Hill where I grew up. But it's called Bustin' into Graceland. And let me get this thing started for you.
Right.
But it goes like this. It's, getting your first job in that big city setting at age 18 would certainly take some adjusting, especially for two Boot Hill girls that were sharp-witted and more than sharp-looking. Memphis in August of 1961 was, as usual, hot, sultry, and stuffed with plenty of humidity to spread around. Let's not let the names of Beulah and Rytha sway you. They're more like dumb as a fox, and let's find some trouble once in a while. Some of those silver-tongued Memphis schoolboys might think, well, looky here, boys, we got us some real country bumpkins, and messing with fire can get you in trouble just as well. In the early 60s, Elvis was an underlying prince approaching king status. When in town, you might see him roaming place to place on Graceland. His beloved mansion, he was sometimes hard to spot on his home turf because he definitely liked his privacy. Although, on the other hand, he at times felt like a caged bird and would end up occasionally flying the coop. Graceland rested on over 13 acres of prime real estate. In the beginning, Elvis's address was 3764 Highway 51 South. When Beulah graduated from Risco High School in 1961, she was thinking, where can I go make some money? Growing up in Lone Star, that is Lone Star, Missouri, there was an old two-room elementary school that was shut down. This was Lone Star, another wide spot in the road, and it was just a sight for sore eyes to look at anyway, especially with all those pretty rows of cotton and soybean fields. You go west 6 miles from that old schoolhouse, and you're in the metropolis of Risco with a population of 600. She wanted to go to college, but needed to be a working girl for a year to get her stash. Beulah had Memphis on her mind, and she made it clear that she didn't want to go north and be around some silly old Yankee boys. All she wanted was some of that southern charm. Well, luck of the draw goes her way. Through a cousin, she meets Rytha, who happened to be a year older, but was already settled in Memphis. Rytha was also a Boot Hill queen, but was from a river town. Should you jump into Mississippi at Caruthersville, Missouri, and start swimming a mile east, you'd land in Tennessee. To cut to the chase, Beulah and Rytha hooked up in the same quad unit apartment that was just off of downtown Memphis at Poplar and North Garland. It worked out quite well for Beulah because she got in on the Baptist Hospital working in the rehabilitation department. Yep, it was a hop, skip, jump, and Beulah would be rehabbing Scarlett with Brett at her side. As time would pass, she became friends with all, but it was Rytha who would like leading the charge, wanting her newfound friend to experience the many quality areas and sights of Memphis on that 25-cent bus ride. On this Friday night, Rytha had a burr up her ass. She had to just go see if she could spot her dreamboat, Elvis. Through a friend of a friend, Rytha would get word that Elvis himself was on Graceland's grounds that would be in the burbs of Whitehaven. And tonight, she knew Elvis was there. Was he just waiting for her? Hell no. He was probably asking if the ribs at the rendezvous had come. He was tired of that Hollywood shit. Yeah, baby. Got to get something in you that's sticking to your ribs. Well, Rytha's urge to experience an Elvis sighting was not like leading a horse to water. It would be more like Atticus shooting the mad dog in To Kill a Mockingbird. Yes, she had an obsession for the king to be. It was an unfortunate lack of control, and at this time, no meds had been developed for a half-rabid, mixed-up girl with mud between her toes. Beulah, like Elvis, wasn't going to act up stupid to get that sharp-eyed Mississippi wink. The thing was, Rytha sold Beulah on taking the 20-minute bus ride out to stand in front of those music-noted gates. Well, they got there safe and sound, and as usual in September, it was still hot. And Elvis was up on the front porch strumming "Return to Cinder." Well, yes, Rytha was a little more than frustrated, you might say. The inner works of a steam engine were starting to show. She turns to Beulah. Hey, let's walk around to this side of the fence. It's just around from the gate. Beulah's thinking, what's this girl got in mind? Beulah, let's just hop the wall and see if we can spot him. Really, Rytha, what if he's got dogs? Beulah, sweetheart, he likes dogs. Beulah's beyond thinking. I'm not going to win this battle. This rock wall was a little high, but we both figured it out. We can scale this thing. Yeah, we can do this. Kind of like climbing up a cotton trailer. But yeah, we got this covered. So Beulah went from following to soldier of fortune, and let's get her done. With ants in her pants and brains on fire, Beulah was the first one over. She was a tad thinner than Rytha, as she lands in the soft leaves as well. As they stand up and brush themselves off, they are immediately met by none other than the security guard. He says, "Hello, girls. You two girls hold it. Just stay right where you are." Beulah was thinking, worst case scenario, we're going to go to jail. The guard gets on his walkie-talkie and says, "Elvis?" "Yeah, Vester." "There are two girls down here that came over the fence. They're standing right here in front of me. What do you want me to do?" "Are they cute?" "Yeah, they both look pretty cute to me." "Well, bring them on up to the house." "Okay, girls, get in the cart. We're going to go up to the house." It was a nice little electric cart that looked like it held 6. This security guard, whose name was Vester, was Elvis's Uncle Vester, who would become a mainstay at Graceland. Both Beulah and Rytha both thought that they had heard Fester. Man, if I had heard Uncle Fester, I'm thinking Addams Family. You know, the one in the black robe with the cue ball head, then, put a smoky hat on him. Well, shit. I wouldn't jump the wall. Hell, I'd probably run through the damn thing. Then, of course, at this point, my mind's failing and thinking Elvis saying, "Uncle Fester, what are we going to have to eat tonight?" "Well, favorite nephew Elvis, we're going to have 2 wild pussycats," as they both pass out in the kitchen and the floor next to them, next to the chopping block. Yes, 50 years later, TV has still entrapped the mind. As they ride up the lane.
That woman had a vivid imagination, let me tell you.
Oh yeah. As they ride up the lane and around the house, Uncle Vester gets up and gets out as they follow him through the side door and into the house. Here they are, Elvis. Beulah was tingling, and I'm thinking Rytha, being in her state of mind, probably lost it and pissed her pants. Uncle Vester, can you go get a mop? Well, that didn't happen because Elvis, being the genuine guy, he was asked, "What's your girls' names? Where y'all from? Where do you work? Which songs do you like of mine?"
Oh,
yeah,
can you imagine
Beulah
that?
said it. Yeah, I think that's happened. Yeah, Beulah said it was. Yeah, Beulah said it was some chit chat for a bit, and then he says, "Well, y'all want to see the house?" Well, heck yeah. We jumped at that. Of course, being the Southern gentleman he was, he showed us the main floor and not the upstairs. At that time, he was moving around the West Coast with some of those movie stars, however, and they just didn't understand beans, ham hocks, and cornbread at all. Nevertheless, in 62, just a year down the road, Miss Priscilla would move in and take her place in his heart and Graceland. Yep, she was a young thing, but he held out marrying her till 67. From the front, Graceland was majestic. Fancy gate, long drive, plantation-looking house with big columns. He told his mama and his daddy he'd get them the best house in Memphis, and that's exactly what he did. Beulah said inside it was the look of 50s and 60s, you know, long shag carpeting, long white couch, velvet curtains, some marble, pre-Beatles furnishings, a tad, just, you know, yeah, it's just a tad different, you might say. He just stayed with the downstairs, no bedroom stuff. And then after 40 minutes or so, Elvis wound it down and asked how we were getting back to Memphis. Did you drive? No, we took the bus. Vester? Yeah, Elvis. I'll call these girls a cab. Why, that's close to a 20-minute cab ride. No problem, girl. And they said, "No problem, girls." That's from Elvis. I've got this, and don't tell anybody I said this, but I really enjoyed your company. We walked out the side door and continued to talk for a couple more minutes. Darn, that cab got there fast. Elvis waves us off as he walks down the drive. As we walk down the drive with his favorite uncle, as he lets us out the gate. "Hey, girls." We both turned and faced Uncle Vester. "Have a good night. See y'all later." Now, that's what I call a real Friday night shindig, with a hitch because we certainly didn't go to a square dance. And Monday morning starts flying around, and it's, "Where'd you go this weekend?" Hung out with Elvis.
Wow.
Yeah.
Anybody in baseball that you met that you have a similar story about? And I'm guessing it must have been Stan.
Don Drysdale.
Really? Okay.
Well, Stan, I've got some stories too. I do. And I got one playing catch with him.
Well, give me Drysdale came to mind, so let's go with that.
I haven't. Huh?
No, I was just going to ask what your feelings were, the circumstances when meeting him, and just let me know.
Frank Tanana and I, a great baseball pitcher. You know,
absolutely.
got to know each other the very first time I went to Idaho Falls. He was the first round pick. He had his arm in a cast. He's left-handed. Anyway, I started talking to him over there. I found out we're the same age. He's first round pick. I'm a frickin' 12th round pick. So anyway, he does his thing, and we bump into each other in the minor leagues a little bit, and you know, kind of become, "Hey, how you doing, Frank? You know, what are you doing, this and that." So we're pitching against each other in Angels Stadium, and I'm starting that day actually because I had broken a rib, and they're just trying to get me. We had just clinched the night before, which you don't want to pitch the next day, but we actually won that game, which was good. But so Frank, I go 5-something, and Frank goes 5-something as well. And we were going to go out to dinner anyway, and he was going to drive and everything. And we had already planned it. We talked about it on the field a little bit. I never talked to hitters, and I don't think he did either too much. But we were sitting there talking about going out, and so, "Hey, KO, I'll see you after the game, and we'll meet here in the runway." And so anyway, we get to the runway, and we took our time and come out there, and so we're ready to head up, and all of a sudden Don Drysdale is coming down the walkway because he was the Angels announcer at the time.
Right.
So Don says to Frank, and he knew me, and he said, "Where are you guys going?" And Frank said, "Well, we're going to go out to eat somewhere." He says, "No, you're not." I said, "What do you mean?" He says, "I'm taking you out."
Wow.
So wow, yeah, that's pretty high. That's high on the hog.
Yes, yes. What was he like?
Great guy. Everybody knew him. They kind of left him alone, but he kind of made the rounds. And he was solid. The place he took us to, it's one of the dark bars, which was nice, real good food. Just nice ambiance and nice bar, just very nice.
Now, he was one of those guys that has a reputation of being totally changing between the white lines.
Mm-hmm.
If you were up against him the next day after your experience with him, he'd have treated you like any other competitor. Am I correct?
Yeah, it's basically like Larry Bird and Magic Johnson.
Right.
They had a meeting one time where Larry Bird asked Magic Johnson out. They had been playing against each other, and Larry Bird didn't give an inch. And Magic Johnson thought that he would. Well, he spent some time out there with his mom's cooking and stuff out there in that little kind of French Lick, Indiana. And all of a sudden, when they started playing again, Larry Bird was the same way, just beating up on him.
Right.
So
The
which is like Drysdale,
spirit,
professional.
competitive spirit comes at you.
Yes.
Willie used to hate to face Don Drysdale. Drysdale would knock his ass down, but Willie would get up and keep swinging. That's the thing. Especially back then, there was no warnings. You could throw at a guy, and the umpires wouldn't come out and warn you.
No.
When does it get out of hand? You go back and forth, or may I rephrase that? When there's a situation, does it get solved? Does one guy have to hit another guy? Does it have to really be equal, or can it go on and on for games, years?
Used to, Ralph. The way it was solved is the players basically policed themselves, unless there was a little bit of bad blood on.
I am back, and you are comfortably zoned with me, the Zigzag Man, in Alameda, California. We are right across the bay from San Francisco, and enjoying some nice Northern California weather. We're blessed because all over the country, and especially the Carolinas, it's been brutal, and that's the only way to put it. I have a guest today from North Carolina, and he will both give us an update on what's happening with the floods, and later on we're going to talk about the possibility of Charlotte competing for the next expansion team in baseball. And this hits home really close for me because Alameda, where I broadcast from and live, is right across the bay, right across the bridge from Oakland, where I can walk to the stadium. And Oakland has, at this point, reached nut-cutting time in terms of their ballpark. There are two potential sites, neither of which have been firmed up. And because I'm such a skeptic about Oakland and Alameda County city and county governments dealing with Their pro franchises, they just lost the Raiders to Vegas. The Warriors are on their way across the bay to San Francisco, where they started when they came out from Philadelphia years ago. And I think there's reason for skepticism as to whether or not they're going to get this thing done. Heard good things. They're talking a good game right now. There are two stadium sites on the horizon, so to speak. One of them is down by the waterfront, and one of them is in the existing place where they have the Coliseum now. They would, with very little ecological problems in terms of putting the team through a whole bunch of stuff like they'd have to go through at the other site. They would tear the existing Oakland Coliseum down and make a parking lot out of it after they build the new stadium on the existing parking lot. So it'd be very simple, but it hasn't yet happened. And there are other cities in the country that would be delighted to have a Major League Baseball team, and one of them is Charlotte, North Carolina. Rick Curti is here, and he's going to give us first an update on the flooding, and I want to know have things receded a little bit, and then we'll talk a little baseball. So welcome to the airways, my friend.
Thank you for having me on your program. I appreciate it. I grew up in Los Angeles. I'm originally from Torrance, California, and I love the Bay Area. It's beautiful, beautiful area. Well,
when I was in the service, I had a really good friend. I can't think of his first name. He was a sergeant, a guy who really did me well, and his name was Earnhardt, and he was from South Carolina, Myrtle Beach, and I always had a warm spot for Myrtle Beach. He described it as this great vacation area and just a wonderful place to settle down. And I always, in the back of my mind, thought maybe someday I'll settle there. Never did, and those who did are really suffering at this point.
Yeah.
What's going on? Is it? Do they have it under control? Has FEMA been there? What's the best you can say about it? For me, looking in on CNN, it's the Cajun Navy. I don't know if you know how many rescues these people have. They're a private group of folks with boats, and they go out helping humanity. It's terrific. What a sense of community. Have you experienced anything like that?
Well, we're very lucky because we live 4.5 hours away from the beach, from Wilmington and the beach area. So we got a lot of wind. My power was out for 15 hours. I just got my cable back up yesterday. We're very lucky. We had very, very just minor inconveniences. Unlike the people in Wilmington, Cape Fear, Myrtle Beach, the beach areas, they were very devastated. I think right now, 20 people have died that they know of. It's just devastating. It's sad. North Carolina, South Carolina is beautiful states, and it's just, when you hear it, when it happens other places, when it happened in Houston and, in Puerto Rico, it's really sad. And when it really hits home, it's just like, wow. And I've never, I grew up in Los Angeles, so this kind of weather's new to me. And we've never had it this bad. We've had some, up in Lumberton, but this is pretty bad, and we just pray everyone's safe. And
Rick, what brought you to North Carolina from LA?
I just needed a change. I grew up in Los Angeles, born and raised. It's very expensive out there, and I lived in Las Vegas before I moved here for 5 years, and I've always liked the South. I always wanted to experience that Southern hospitality, and I knew nothing about Charlotte. I just heard a lot of nice things about it, and I just wanted to go and check for myself, and I've been here 12 years. I fell in love with the city. I fell in love with the state, and it's just home to me. This is a great place to live. People are very nice, and it's friendly, and we have wonderful seasons, and it's so different for me. But it's just a great place to live.
It's interesting for me to talk baseball with a North Carolinian, whereas basketball is so much, Duke and North Carolina State, Valvano, this, that, and the other thing, all the, Dean Smith, all the things to talk about, and we're going to talk baseball.
Well,
were you a basketball fan when you decided to come back to North Carolina, or did that play any part in it, or what?
No, I mean, growing up in Los Angeles, everybody were Laker fans, and I was always a baseball fan. I mean, I follow basketball. I like LeBron James. I follow the season, what goes on, and we have the Hornets out here.
Right.
Michael Jordan owns them, so I've always followed baseball. And I follow other sports. I follow football. I follow basketball. I watch some hockey, but it's always been baseball for me.
Well, that brings us to the situation in Charlotte that you guys are in as a contender for the next expansion franchise. And why don't you make a case for Charlotte as a baseball community?
Well, in 2015, Commissioner Rob Manfred put us on this list with Montreal, Portland, Las Vegas, San Antonio, Mexico City, and he wants to expand. And I've been saying this for years when I came to Charlotte, that the only thing we need here is Major League Baseball. We got the NFL, we got the NBA, we got an NHL team in Raleigh. We need Major League Baseball, and we have a lot of transplants out here. Nobody here is from Charlotte. So we have people here from Boston, we have people from New Jersey, Philadelphia, Buffalo, wherever. They're all over. And we have a minor league baseball team that has been leading all of minor league baseball in attendance for the last 5 years with the Charlotte Knights. And I think that's the reason that we are really taken seriously, because if we can sell out a minor league ballpark, and we already have the football and basketball, and our population is growing because it's one of the fastest growing cities, it just makes a lot of sense. And we have South Carolina next door, so we can get people from South Carolina coming to Charlotte to come see a baseball game. So I think this is the perfect
Rick,
place.
let me ask you this. Is your existing facility convertible to, putting on another deck or whatever it takes to make it a major league park? How old is it? If that couldn't be done, is building a stadium an issue? The old build it and they'll come kind of thing. What's your situation ballpark-wise?
Well, the ballpark is fairly new. It's been there 5 years. They say it's not expandable, but I look at it and it looks expandable to me. I mean, it seats about less than 11,000. The dimensions are perfect. 400 in center. It's like 315 down the right field, and 330 down left field. To me, it looks like it could be expandable, but if they say they can't do it, they can't do it. But there's other areas in Charlotte, or maybe just outside of Charlotte, that absolutely they can build a ballpark. We have a new owner in the Panthers, And rumor has it that he wants a new stadium, and he might build it somewhere in the North-South Carolina border. I think it'd be great if he had an NFL, maybe MLB type stadium there. So, I mean, the possibilities are endless. So, we'll just have to see what happens.
Boy, I'll tell you, it's kind of hard nowadays, what with the cookie-cutter ballparks practically in extinction, to build a football stadium that doubles as a baseball stadium. I think that would be very difficult. Is your owner interested in acquiring a franchise and building a stadium for that franchise, be it the A's or the Rays, or anyone in any team in flux?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, we were put on this list. Then the thing we're waiting on is Oakland and Tampa getting stadiums. That's the holdup with expanding. And we already know that Montreal will come back. I mean, that's what's going to happen. And so the question is, who will be the second team? Instead of 30, there'll be 32 teams. So the question is, who will join Montreal? And we feel it's going to be us, but Portland is another favorite. And but I've heard Las Vegas. They're going to build a minor league ballpark too in the Summerlin area. Nashville's on that list. He's mentioned Vancouver. New Jersey's on that list. Oklahoma's on there. Mexico City's on there. And they're going to play games in London next year, and they've been playing games in Mexico. And a couple of years ago, they actually played games in Fayetteville, North Carolina, over at the at the Fort Bragg military base. It was the Braves and Marlins, and it was they converted the facilities into a minor league ballpark, and a lot of people were there.
They're in the Sally League, if I'm not mistaken, and were the Mets a franchise of Fayetteville a while back, and maybe they still are.
They're building a new facility, and right now it's the Astros, but they could have been back in the day, but right now it's the Astros, and so they're getting a new stadium in Fayetteville as well, and so.
Are you into minor league baseball as well?
Yeah, I do. I go to the nice games a lot. I've seen a lot of it's nice. I mean, it's new to me when I first moved here, and we had a minor league team. They actually were in South Carolina, and their attendance wasn't very good because it was kind of like Tampa. They were like 20 minutes away, and I'm like, nobody is going to drive 20 minutes to South Carolina to go see minor league baseball, and the attendance was terrible. And so they moved the team to Charlotte, in uptown Charlotte. We call it uptown, it's downtown. And they built this beautiful ballpark called BB&T Ballpark, voted best ballpark in minor league baseball. Fantastic skyline, and their attendance went from 3,000, which was last, and they've been averaging like 9,200. And they just led in overall attendance. They led in average attendance, and it's the most visited ballpark in all of minor league baseball.
Well, what's life like in Northern California, or I might say in Northern California, in North Carolina, and I might amend that to say the South. What's different about the South from, you say L.A. is South too, but you know what I mean? The South.
Yeah, the real South.
L.A. is not the South.
No.
What's the biggest adjustment a person would have going from anywhere to the South?
To me, it was the time change. It took me about 4 or 5 hours to get used to the East Coast time change. It took me a while to figure out that Monday Night Football starts really at 10 o'clock out here, not 7 o'clock.
Right.
So when I would go to sleep and I would have family members call me like at 1 o'clock in the morning, midnight, and they're like, "Oh, are you asleep already?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's midnight here already." "Oh, I forgot. it's a 3 hour difference. So the East Coast time was different. Having seasons, I love the seasons. I love fall. We have the leaves that change colors. They have that nice fall feel to it. That's new to me. I love it.
The winters aren't too brutal, are they?
No, it doesn't really snow that bad out here. We did have an ice storm one time. That was interesting. But I love snow. I mean, I've gotten so used to it. And like I said, it's a big change for me, but it's a nice change. And actually, my mom moved out here about 4 years ago. She loves Charlotte a lot. So this is kind of like my adopted, home. And like I said, nobody's from here. We're all transplants, but it's a great place to live. People are friendly. A lot of opportunities out here. I mean, I'm here trying to bring a Major League Baseball team. Never thought in a million years I would ever be in North Carolina trying to bring Major League Baseball. But I'm here. I'm doing it.
You guys
I'm not giving up.
The A's and the Rays in any way? Have you made proposals to them or?
No, I mean, we just keep hearing rumors because we don't know what's going to happen with them, whether they're going to have a stadium or not. I believe they will, but there's always been rumblings that there's a possibility Oakland may move to Portland or Tampa may move to Charlotte, or we've heard rumors that Tampa may go to Montreal. The owner doesn't seem like he wants to sell the team. He does want them to stay. The commissioner wants them to stay. He doesn't want to uproot them. So they've been trying really, really hard to get some type of deal done with these stadiums.
Well, the commissioner
in Oakland and Tampa.
On a ballpark. He's basically putting the pressure on them.
Yeah.
To either build the ballpark or, get it done or get out, basically. Interesting that this week the A's acquired the rights to the minor league franchise in Vegas. Last year they were in Syracuse or Nashville, as a matter of fact.
Nashville, yeah.
Yeah. And so first thing that hit me is that might give them a bit of a bargaining ploy because they've already got the territory in Vegas, bargaining ploy with the powers that be in Oakland and Alameda County. I don't know. Again, it seems like it's close. Everything I hear is that it's close, but I won't believe it until the shovel is in the ground. And if it's not, you're making a good case for Charlotte being a viable alternative. Baseball star, Major League Baseball stars, proved that they can support a minor league team. Best attendance in baseball for 5 years in the minor leagues. I'm impressed with the lifestyle. You seem to have a very mellow. It's a city, but you don't seem to be too affected by big city-itis, if you know what I mean.
No, I grew up in a big city, and I'm used to a big city. Charlotte to me is like kind of like Goldilocks. It's not too big, not too small. It's just right, and that's how I feel about Charlotte. It is growing, but it's growing at a very controlled, very good rate, high rate. And like I said, we have a lot of banks out here. Bank of America is headquartered here. We have Duke Energy, one of the largest energy companies in the world, headquartered here. So, it's to me small because I grew up in a big city, but other places is like huge. But to me, it's a nice medium-sized city, friendly people, a lot of opportunity. Everything is right there. You can actually take a Lynx or a bus to a ballpark, and there's a park cross street, and you just walk there. It's just so nice and convenient. So
beautiful.
It's a great place.
Rick, when you tell the Goldilocks story, do you ever think about Goldilocks' sister? If was she too big, too small? Does that come through your head at all, like it did mine? Or is that?
I just think of like what's perfect for you. Some people may not, maybe.
Oh yeah. But then again, you think it's perfect, and what the Love and Spoonful used to say, and then you get attracted by her younger sister. Blah blah blah. But I just thought I'd break things up a little bit with a little levity on a Tuesday morning. Hey, Rick, keep coming back. Let us know how things are. I'm concerned naturally about the terrain and what's going on. Are the rivers still cresting?
Some are. Some have stopped, but some are. We're going to know more in a couple of days. Our governor's going all around North Carolina. He was in New Bern, which got absolutely pummeled. A lot of these small rural areas in North and South Carolina got the worst, and the beach areas. Wilmington, North Carolina, the beach area, they got hammered. And people can't even get out of the city because there's nowhere to go and there's no gas. People can't even fill up their cars with gas right now. So just pray for everyone out there. We're fine in Charlotte. We had some damage, power outages here and there. My internet's still down, but very, very small little things. These people lost their homes, probably lost some loved ones, and it's just been sad.
Oh, yes. We're thinking of you. How about that? And
thank you.
You're welcome back on Comfortably Zoned anytime. I'm really pleased that you gave us this update and some insight to your chances of getting a baseball team. I'd hate to see you get the A's because I could walk to their stadium literally if need be from where I am, and I'm kind of spoiled. I'm a Met fan, but it's nice to have the American League at my disposal, and I was an old New York Giant fan, so I've got them across the bay. Hate to lose that, but boy, it really well could happen unless this thing is finalized, and if they're going to go anywhere, maybe Charlotte isn't a bad idea.
Yeah, I mean, we've heard, I think Tampa would probably, if they were going to move, probably Tampa would come to Charlotte since we're in the East Coast and they could put us in the American League East, and we have a lot of Boston, a lot of New York Yankee fans here. So we've always heard that, but we don't know. We've lost the team. We had the Hornets move to New Orleans, and so it's really tough when you see a city lose their team, especially Oakland has been there so long, and we don't know. We hope they get stadiums, and that'll be great because then they'll expand. So most people want to see an expansion team, so they don't want to see another team come here and see another city lose because we lost it with the Hornets, and we know what it's like. So we hope Oakland does stay and Tampa does stay, and hopefully they can get some stadiums done. And another commission's putting a lot of pressure on them.
That feels much better as well. You're starting everything from scratch.
Correct.
Beautiful. Hey, Rick, thank you again. Be well, and all
thank
the best.
You.
And
thank
you
sir.
out there for listening. Appreciate it. Stay tuned. Be well. This has been a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.